Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
Alrighty, how's everybody doing this Saturday evening? Can you guys hear me? Somebody say yes or no or maybe. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. As usual, I am the master of unscheduled live events. Don't know why, but welcome to the grand audience of several of you. Can you guys hear me okay? Tonight will be a brief discussion on how not to get ripped off, a process by a process called phone phishing. So how's everybody doing? Milos, you are from Serbia. Wow. Excellent. Welcome. You guys can hear. Thank you. Okay. Cool. All right. So once again, I do not expect a large audience tonight, but it's not really necessary. This is more of a public service announcement. Gone fishing. Now, I don't mean fishing like, fishing for food, but how to avoid being ripped off by unscrupulous people, scammers, phishing, a process called phishing. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while. MC Strap, you're doing good. Okay, cool. Yeah, phishing is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I keep forgetting, with all the stuff going on YouTube with AdSense revenue and channels trying to find other ways. Channels trying to find other ways to keep the channel alive and pay the bills. This is something that finally remembered doing today or tonight. So I am here. So we'll talk briefly about phishing, what it is, and how to avoid being ripped off, and maybe once this live event is over, someone in the future may come across the process of phishing, and will hopefully avoid being, ripped off. Now, there are different forms of phishing. There's internet phishing, forum phishing, phishing by mail, something called smishing, I guess by text messaging. God, it never ends, does it? So once again, welcome to the channel. This is Total OS Today, Total Technology for Beginners and Beyond. I am a dual booter between Windows 10 and Linux because I enjoy dual booting. So I'll talk about anything related to technology and not just Linux, Windows, or Windows. And really, as far as avoid being phished, as it were, it doesn't matter what you use. It really doesn't. If you use a Mac, Windows, Chrome, Linux, you need to be aware of what's going on when somebody tries to phish you. Milos, you're good today. I'm going to meet a girl. Nice. Excellent. I hope it works out for you. And find out if she uses Linux. Okay, well, maybe not. Maybe that's not a romantic question, right? I don't know why I said that. But hey, if she's a geek, cool. All right, so let's go into, I see we have some other people joining late. Maybe I'll wait a few minutes and get started. Again, this is an unannounced live event, and that's what I do. One of these days I'll post a heads up and maybe have more than a few people joining, but that's okay. Everybody is welcome no matter what piece of technology that you use. All right, let me get situated here. We'll talk about phishing. Just give me a moment. I just jotted down some notes, and we can get started. Okay, so you guys should be seeing this by now, I hope. Phishing. Yeah, keep posting your comments. I'll get back to it here in just a few moments. So Milos, you use Windows 10 Enterprise without bloatware. Cortana Xbox, nice, clean, fast, stable OS. Excellent. Use what works. The best operating system is the one that works for you, right? Of course it is. Okay, let's go into phishing. She's not a geek, but she knows the basic. Okay, works for me, Milos. Excellent. All right, phishing. What is phishing? That's Phishing. I think I spelled it right. Let's move along. Phishing is a process by which scammers and con artists try to fool you into revealing personal information and or sending money. Let's talk phishing by phone. How to suspect a phishing proposition. And it's usually some form of human emotion or response. Fear. Your assets are about to be seized by the IRS. I remember getting a call like this last year. I think it was last year. It was a robocall, and it was a recording, and I never answer the phone from an unknown number. It doesn't mean that the unknown number is necessarily a bad or phishing call, but I figure if it's important, that person will leave a message. And this was a phishing call. It was a robocall, and it's something like, "Warning, your assets have been frozen by the IRS unless you pay something." My first response was, I have assets? Really? Somebody took all my assets. Obviously, it was a phishing call. The other problem is, or the other way besides fear, is with excitement to get you to give up some of your assets. You've won a drawing for a new house, a car, a trip, etc. I always get a kick out of this one because calls like this, I'm like, great, how about if you send me the car first and then I'll pay the fee? course, they always say no because it's a scam. But if you truly want something, say you want a car, I believe the way this works, like on a game show, if you win a prize or a car, I believe you have to pay the taxes on it. Now that's totally legit, but if you get a call winning, say, a car or a house, great. You give me the car or the house first and I'll pay the fee on it. Sounds reasonable. Of course, it's not reasonable because it doesn't exist. Another way to get you in trouble, so to speak, is to say you have someone in trouble. You have a relative in trouble, a friend in trouble, and they need your help in the form of giving up some form of your assets. Another way to get you to be susceptible to phishing is some form of government grants. We just need your Social Security and deposit account numbers to get you a government grant. It can be, something for college, but really, look, no one's going to call you for something like this. If you have a kid or someone needs a government grant, you can just go into your local college, fill out the forms, and everything will be handled by that specific institution. And if you guys have other tips on this, or have you known someone or received a call, go ahead and post them in the comments, and I'll go back to it. Post it in the chat session. So where were we here? Only the first 5 people who we call who say yes will get this free vacation. Once again, it's to pressure you into making a very bad decision. Common themes. Well, they're out to get your money, passwords, or private information. Never conduct business over the phone unless you can confirm their identity. It just makes sense, right? If anyone asks you for money or personal information, just hang up the phone. It's that simple. And you can fight back. You can go to the FTC website, or you can call this number. I believe this one is current. It's 877 FTC help to report a phishing scam or a possible phishing scam. To be honest, when I got that call last year, I didn't really say anything. I kind of giggled to myself. It was early morning. I was still sleeping. I just let it go. But sure, if you want to report it, this might prevent a person in the future, prevent that person from being phished, as it were. Now, once again, this is not the only way. There are email scams. Never click on unsolicited emails or suspicious emails. By the way, that's one way to get ransomware, is through an email. And of course, someone can call you on your cell phone and try the same process. So that is the process of phishing and how to avoid it. It's not a complete list or a complete explanation of how this is done, but I think this pretty much explains it, at least for a beginner, as it were, on how to avoid being ripped off. Okay, so let's go to your comments here. Okay, MC Strap, you received a fake IRS phone call. What exactly did they say? First of all, was it a robocall? And then they say that your assets have been frozen unless you call or pay a fee or whatever. I'm guessing that's what happened. I haven't gotten too many of those type of calls. Once again, usually, if not always, if it's a number I don't recognize, I just don't answer the phone. That's on my cell phone too. That's the only way to be sure, because once again, I feel that if it is important, they will leave a message. Makes sense to me. Sometimes too, you can check, you can get information from your local banks or institutions on how to avoid, scams like this. it was a recording, and you got that. Yeah, they said spot on. Yeah, it's usually some kind of pre-recorded setup. I suppose it could be a live person calling first, but it's probably going to be a lot easier just to do the robocalls. And some robocalls are legit, such as the political voting season. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Or meet this candidate running for office, or make a contribution, some kind of a poll. Those are usually quite real, and those are the ones I really don't have a problem with, because they're usually not asking for money, unless of course it's some kind of contribution to a specific candidate that maybe you were supporting in the past. But more often than not, phishing is it's not for your benefit. They are trying to catch you, as it were, as like you're trying to catch a fish. They're trying to catch you. There's an expression: hook, line, and sinker, and they're out to squeeze as much as they can from as many people. It's really a game of numbers. I suppose it always was, but that's what phishing is all about. Remember, I was at my cousin's house, and he got a call for something, and he says he won something, and I think he said, "Great, send me the thing, and I'll." And obviously, it's not the answer that he wanted, so he just hung up the phone. Click, and just continued watching TV. Jeff, welcome. Jeff Linux Turner from Canada. So you had Revenue Canada scams where you live, bunch of idiots. What exactly, Jeff, was the phone call about? Was it Canada's IRS, or some kind of contribution? Revenue Canada. I'm not familiar with that. Is this a common thing? I don't hear too much from scamming in Canada. Of course, it can happen. Now, come on, Jeff. I used to live in Florida 10 years, and some of the swampland is quite nice, so be nice. Okay, well, maybe not swampland. Taxes, got it. Okay. Yeah, here in the States, it's a robocall. IRS. So yeah, it's a robocall like the one I got last year, and they're focusing on fear. Warning: your assets have been frozen unless you pay this fee to the IRS, or someone's going to come to your house. And my first response was, I have assets? Well, who took them? Who took my Ferrari? Who took my boat? Who took my mansion? That's why I kind of giggled at the call. I didn't answer the call. I was still in bed. So it's Canada's version of the IRS. So I'm assuming it's a robocall. Yeah, it's a game of numbers. Ultimately, I suppose with anything, that's what it comes down to. And more people need to be aware. Obviously, for some people who do this, it's profitable. Ransomware, I've talked about for years. Make sure it usually happens to Windows. Make sure your system is fully up to date. Make sure your system is a legit operating system, not a copy of one or a pirated one, because that doesn't count. I'll get comments sometime. Oh, Windows sucks because I couldn't do this. It kept crashing, this and that. A new computer, or they bought a computer, and I'm like, dude, if I bought a new computer and it had those kind of defects, I would take it back. And of course, the response would be sometimes, well, no, I got a copy of OS from Windows from a friend of mine. Oh, well, there's your problem. Randall, hello. Welcome. How are you? For those of you joining a little bit late, this is an unscheduled live event of the topic Gone Phishing, not fishing as in fishing for food at the lake, but how to avoid being ripped off by phishing scams. And I've talked about tonight's focus was on phone phishing, and how the caller would try to appeal to or to get you to Well, give up your assets, as it were, by fear or by empathy or by pressure. And the IRS thing is a common one. Another one is the excitement factor. Hey, you've won a house or a car, but you got to pay this fee or whatever. My response has always been, great, you send me the car first and I'll pay the fee. Of course, the answer is no. Good. House hunting. Oh, you're shopping for a house. Okay. Boy, I've done that in the past. That is so monotonous. But if you got to buy a house, if you have to move on, you got to move on. And there's also house scams too, so be careful, Randall. But normally, if you have a legit realtor, should not be a problem. I remember when I lived in Florida, I did house hunting, house shopping, and it made it slightly more pleasurable because I was shopping in nice weather. So, anyway. What time is it? 10:48. Okay. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, see if anybody else jumps on. So anybody jumping on late, don't be shy. Stop by and say hello. I've talked about phishing, phishing, and how to avoid being ripped off. Because apparently a lot of people are falling for this type of scam. Phone phishing, of course, is email phishing, stuff in the mail. You have a contract pending. Cool, Randall. I hope it works out for you. How long did it take you to how long did it take you to fish for this house, as it were? Days, weeks, months? And if I may ask, where are you shopping for a house at? Which state? I'm here in Ohio. And next week, where I live, it is the Dean Martin Festival, celebrating 100 years of the legacy of Dean Martin. And his daughter will be here next week. About a week? You found a house in a week? Wow. Did you find it by yourself, through a realtor, online? Through a friend or a relative? That's pretty good. Shopping for a house is almost as tedious as shopping for a car. Wow, a week is not bad. Rose Manejo, hello. Welcome. North Carolina. Okay. Never been down there. I've driven by the state when I drove back and forth to Florida. How's the housing market, Randall, down there? Is it expensive? Is it reasonable? Is it difficult to get loans through a realtor? Okay, yeah, that's how I did mine. I found it. I felt I felt safer doing it that way. I felt more secure. And if you find a really nice realtor who's patient and knows what he or she is doing, boy, it makes it so much easier. I remember when I sold my house to move back, the same realtor was there, and boy, it made it so much easier because he knew everything about the house. Insane. The price is insane, or getting the loan. The process of getting the loan is insane. Rose from Canada. Great, another person from Canada. Awesome. I have the international show tonight. Yeah, Rose, I have relatives who live in Montreal. I've heard Vancouver is beautiful, by the way, speaking of that part of the world. Very nice. Yeah, it seems like the housing market prices come and go. I don't know how difficult it is right now to get a loan, or how much is required for a down payment. Rose, which part of Canada, if I may ask? The market is insane. Okay. North Carolina property values are low, but everybody thinks their house is worth that of Trump Towers. Oh my. Okay. Then the pricing must be bigly, as he would say, right? Yes, Rose. My cousin, I believe, traveled to Vancouver a few years ago. He says it was one of the most cleanest places on earth. And I think he said he did not see a single pothole. Does that sound correct? Ottawa. Okay, Rose. Cool. Nice. Yeah, there's another spot on that side of the next to Vancouver. What's the other one? I can't remember. Another city that's quite beautiful. I've never been up that way. I usually head down to Florida. I can't think of the other city. Cool, but yeah, I've heard very nice things about Vancouver. Vancouver. I wonder how many people in Canada use Linux-based operating systems. Just a thought. Just a thought. Alright, so I'll stick around for a few more minutes. If you guys have any other topics you would like to chat or shoot the breeze, please do. It's one of those Saturday nights. I went grocery shopping, and I don't have any other plans. I had actually some popcorn that I ate. Victoria, okay, but that's on the island. Okay, then maybe that's the other place I was thinking of, Rose. Yeah. I've seen pictures of it. It looks gorgeous. Beautiful. On the technology news, there was the Apple conference, whatever it's called, and now Apple's coming out with their own home assistant. I believe it's called the HomePod. I guess to compete with Siri, or not Siri, but the Amazon's Echo, Alexa, and the Google. Rose, you have a problem with Linux. Okay, go for it. What is the problem? Now, of course, if you're funny, you can say everything. I'm just kidding. How long have you had Linux? You're a newbie, okay. Well, Rose, you've come to the right place. This is Total OS Today, total technology for beginners or newbies and beyond. Which distribution, which Rose, which one are you using? 22-second chat delay. Okay, Randall, sorry about that. You have two hard drives. One is Windows XP. Rose, what are you doing with Windows XP? No. All right, the other drive is Linux Lite. Okay, Linux Lite is okay for newbies. I haven't played with Linux Lite in a while, but Linux Lite is okay. The Linux Lite works, but the desktop does not show the 320 gig hard drive. Oh, it shows Windows XP. You're playing old games. Well, I hope you're not playing the old games online. $80 gig. You know, a programmer that went uncredited with Linux Lite. What exactly do you mean, Randall? Uncredited? You mean he helped develop it and he wasn't given credit? Is that what you're trying to say? Rose, on the hard drive. Trying to think here. So, Rose, are you dual booting? You just played on the system. Okay. He was, Randall, uncredited. Well, that's not nice. Yeah, well, I don't know what else to say, but that's not nice. You're dual booting. Okay. I'm not sure why it would do that. Normally, I'm going to assume that Linux Lite has an automatic installer. Sometimes, Rose, sometimes to avoid any problem. First of all, when you download the ISO, the Linux Lite, whatever version it is, 32 or 64-bit, make sure, check the MD5. Make sure that the download is not corrupted. If it's corrupted, don't install it. In Windows, there's several applications to check. One is called just check a free, I think it's just called free MD5 checker or something like that. But if the download is corrupted, delete it and download it again. It doesn't happen that often. Again, this is what I would do if you're having issues with any Linux-based operating system. There's no corruption. Okay. All right. Let's see, what else would I do? I haven't had too many problems dual booting. I would back up any important files, folders, 64-bit. Okay, good. I would back up any important files or folders that you have in your Linux Lite side of your computer, of your partition of your hard drive. Back up your stuff first. I would go back into Windows and I would download a free application called ECBCD. Okay, and I would overwrite the MBR so it boots only into Windows. Okay. Now you want to do that after you backed up any files or folders, and then sometimes you may have to create free space from the Windows side, and then use that free space to install Linux Lite. Now, I don't know if you have an issue because it's Windows XP and there's some kind of a problem trying to dual boot. It could be, but whenever I had any problem dual booting or something's not right, I would just start over. I would back up my files first from the Linux side of my system, and ECBC didn't work. Oh, because it's Windows XP. Oh, because it's outdated. Okay. You can still, if you have the, I believe you have the original XP disk, you can still fix the MBR so it overwrites the Linux on boot, and you can boot into Windows only. and then you would have to create. I would probably go back to the Windows side and delete the Linux partitions. You should have at least 2 partitions, and then create some free space. But it could be that you're going to have this problem because of Windows XP period, Rose. I don't have any Windows XP at all. I just don't trust it, period. But I would, that's how I would attempt to fix your problem. Yeah, I dual boot just about all of my systems, but I don't run Windows XP. Shatir, hello, welcome. You could also, Rose, maybe check the Linux Lite forums, but I'm going to guess there may not be much on issues dual booting with Windows XP. Dual boot 1 OS per hard drive is the best. Sure. Yeah. If you happen to have a spare machine like I do, you can certainly just install Linux. But generally speaking, because my machines aren't that outdated, my oldest one I think is from 2005. It's a IBM, a Lenovo, or at the time was IBM ThinkPad. ThinkPads are awesome for Linux. I give a shout out to ThinkPads, but that's the oldest one I have, and even that one back then I was dual booting XP and Linux, but I just don't use XP anymore. But that's what I would try to do, Rose. And also check the Linux Lite forums. Shatir, you have only a single drive with dual booting, and after that I never do a dual boot. Okay. You're welcome. Multiple hard drives in the same machine. Okay, sure. It's easier with one drive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The notebook was easy, no problem. Did the notebook have XP2, Rose, or was it a different OS altogether? I'm curious, Rose, what made you pick Linux Lite? Just browsing the web or through a recommendation, or you just thought it would be easy since it's called Lite? My favorite OS, Linux OS for beginners, my top 3 right now, probably I would go with Ubuntu Mate. It's spelled mate. I would go with Linux Mint, the Mate version or the XFCE version. Those are 2 fairly light. For my third choice right now, I'm not sure what I would pick for my third choice right now. It was Vista. Okay. Yeah, I believe Microsoft has stopped supporting Vista, if I am not mistaken, as of a few years ago, I think. But yeah, my oldest machine, my ThinkPad, originally had Windows XP. It was only a 30 gig hard drive, and it has less than a gig of RAM, so it doesn't run pretty fast. I think I have PC Linux OS on that, the LXDE version. But that stays in my garage. I don't use it that much. Yeah, it was about when I started the channel back in 2010. There really wasn't a lot of what I would call quality, quality content creators for beginners, and that's why I started this channel. Of course, today there's more choices. But I was one of the first. I think I can say that. Shatir, what you got here? You give you away if you have at least 16 gigs flash USB pen, thumbs drive, and install any GNU Linux on that and boot up selecting options from the BIOS. Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. You got a USB drive and you installed Yummy and a 7 distros? Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, you could certainly try booting from a USB stick and run it from there. The performance will vary, but that's certainly an option, sure. And you don't have to install anything on your hard drive or hard drives. It's quite safe. Ubuntu, Mint, and Manjaro, all three are pretty new. I can't really say Manjaro is newbie friendly, Randall. I tried to use Manjaro full time last year in one of my ThinkPads, and it started off great, and then the problems down the line, and I just gave up after a few months. I really didn't want to, but in the end, I just ran out of patience. So, yeah. But to my tell you tried it, but I got a black screen, so went to Linux Slide. Okay, yeah, use what works. Absolutely. Just install one per USB drive. That's what I would do, but hey, if it works on one stick, I've never heard about 7 of them. I'm not sure how the performance would be. But hey, Rose, good for you. Yeah, I got several USB sticks here. I don't boot that much, really, or hardly now at all off USB sticks. I just really, unless I want to test something. But I just tested in a VM. It's better to dual boot, and even I never recommend Manjaro for newbies. Okay, all right. Well, maybe Manjaro's better now, but last year it started off great. I knew I was in trouble with Manjaro when I couldn't even play a music CD, and then there was a joke. Well, gee, Toss, who plays music CDs anymore? And that's not the point. Yeah, I would, Rose. I would have guessed there would be some form of corruption. That's my guess. But if it works, keep on using it. But it's probably not something I would do. What's up, Brian? Yeah, that's right. I'm fishing. I'm a fisherman for tonight, man. Where I've been talking about how to avoid phishing. PHS, yeah. Hello, Ryan. Yep. Phishing is a topic that's been on my mind for a while, and I thought I would say something about it for tonight. How to avoid phone phishing. If you missed it, you can just catch it later. Just don't ask the arch users for help. Oh, here we go. The unfriendly Linux community, at least some of it, right? Yeah. You know, in over 7 years of this channel, I have done my best to be, as friendly as possible, because I would want the same amount or the same kind of attention and respect. Because look, we were all newbies at one time, right? So yeah. You had that experience with writing a DVD with multiple OSs. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I've had people triple boot without problems, but that's just not something I would do. Yeah. Yeah, Rose, just maybe you run just one distro off the USB, and maybe it may run better. You may have better performance running it. Zenesis Webs, howdy, how are you? Welcome to tonight's show. tonight's topic was, we're talking Linux now, which is fine. Tonight's show was about how to avoid phishing scams, specifically phone phishing. And it's more prevalent than you would think. I got a call, I believe it was last year. It was a robocall, and you may have heard about these calls. Warning, your assets have been frozen by the IRS or someone unless you pay a fee. And my first response was, I have assets? And it was early in the morning. I just stayed in bed. So, yeah, I generally don't answer unknown calls, caller ID. And if it's someone important or someone that leaves a message, I figure if it's important, they will leave a message, and that's safe. You will try to reinstall Linux. Yeah, try that, Rose. Yeah. Again, it may be an issue because of Windows XP, but just make sure you, no matter what you use, make sure you back up all your files and folders multiple times just to be safe. A small Linux distro such as TinyCore and a portable DVD. I don't mess with. Boy, TinyCore is really small if I recall. You have an answering machine and ignore it. Yeah, that's what I do. I got an all-in-one cordless phone, caller ID answer, talking caller ID. So. You got swamped with phone calls from Pakistani Indian Windows support for weeks. I've always wanted to pick up one of those phone calls, Randall, and answer it in that dialect. When they say, hello, this is Windows support, and I would say, hello, how are you? My name is Thomas from the FBI. Why are you calling me? I know, be nice, be nice. Colin Brash, how are you? Welcome this evening to the show. Glad to have you aboard. Try Puppy. Puppies are cute, but I think you mean Puppy OS, right? I don't use Arch. I just don't recommend it for beginners. Nothing wrong with it. So I don't know. Is there an issue with the Arch forums? Yeah, Rose, I've heard good things about Puppy Linux, sure. Portable, yes, absolutely. What did I download the other night? MX16, the latest 16.1. Is it fast, even in a virtual machine. Because they are total rear hats. 21 but themselves on their official. It's really that bad, Randall? I'm sorry to hear that. Oh my. I very seldom go to forums. I try to fix the problem or find the answer myself to avoid any potential conflicts. But yeah, I suppose you will have how can I say, you will have non-user friendly people everywhere, right? At any given time. That's right, Zanesis. Yes, Zanesis. Yep, that is true. I think most people are generally kind and patient. You played with MX16 from USB. Great, Rose. How was the performance? Was it? I haven't tested from USB. Was it pretty fast? Puppy Linux resurrected. Any old PC. Okay, Shatir, cool. Sylvania portable DV players. I remember those. Would I be able to modify it to the point where I could technically use TinyCore? I don't know. Ever seen the South Park episode where everybody bought hybrids? I haven't. I do remember South Park. They had parties where they sniffed their own farts. Oh, God. Arch IRC right there. Okay. Is your Windows a fresh install or an upgrade? Oh, I upgraded. All my machines had the original, Colin. All my machines had the original Windows operating system. And starting with Windows 7, I think, on one of them. But they had a Windows 8. And I just did the upgrade. I followed the instructions. I backed up everything first on multiple hard drives. And I did the upgrade. It takes a few hours. And I don't recall, I think I once had a problem, but so far, Colin, everything seems to be okay. Performance is pretty good, even on a older machine of mine from 2011 with just 4 gigs of RAM. Gaming is great, as it should be. Rose, if you're playing with fire, always have a little fire extinguisher handy. You downloaded Void. Boy, these names with Linux. Linux that came without system. Put a system D, put a USB drive. Hope soon we'll check after completeness. That's the name of it, Void. Doesn't sound too promising with that name, Void. I guess Linux Smith is on top on the distro watch list. Now that Ubuntu is dropping Unity. I liked Unity. 1604 worked pretty good for me. I didn't have any problems. I had it installed on 2 machines. It worked pretty good, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. Now they're going to the GNOME desktop. Not my favorite, at least not today. I'm curious to see what the final version of Ubuntu GNOME will look like. I think there was another poll for GNOME from Ubuntu. What apps by default they wanted to be in the next version of Ubuntu. I should have wrote a comment. I want Mate to be the default app. The screen fetch picture for Void looks like a pokeball. Okay. Cody. I've not messed with Cody. Keep a bucket full of water beside you. I remember, guys, when I installed Manjaro and I enabled, I believe it's called the AUR, Arch User Repository, right, guys? Yeah, that's what it's called. Rose, I am using every day currently right now on my main desktop. I'm using Linux Mint Mate. On my backup desktop, Rose, I have the latest Kubuntu 17.04. And I have on my older laptop, I have PC Linux OS, which I don't really use it that much. I think that's a rolling release. You just keep doing updates, nothing to reinstall every 3 years or whatever. And then on one of my other laptops, I have Linux Mint, because that machine just has 2 gigs of RAM, so I wanted something light. But normally, Rose, I am running Linux Mint Mate. I like anything from Linux Mint for beginners except possibly the Debian version of Linux Mint. So check out Linux Mint. Yeah, it works pretty good. Fedora looks like, yeah, you can definitely customize any form of Linux no matter what you use, but I think QuidsUp took his Kubuntu and made it look like Unity. Fedora is your Linux distro too dangerous for me. I tried Fedora once. I did not like it. The distro of MS is Privacy OS 10, Shatir. Yeah, I mean, look, there's been a lot of talk with Windows 10 about telemetry and privacy and this and that, and I don't like it. But really, guys, once you get on the web, do you really want to talk privacy? Not to excuse what Windows 10 was doing, but anyway, Somebody mentioned the most secure Linux distro is Cubes OS. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. I haven't messed with that. You could try Aurora instead Fedora. Tell yourself. Oh yeah. Speaking of Manjaro, yes, I was telling my story. So I was trying Manjaro. I enabled the AUR, and it came up with a warning. And you maybe have seen it. Warning: this is dangerous to install. It could do something to your system. And that made me laugh because I did an updated video on Manjaro, and I mentioned that, and I had a fire extinguisher out of camera range, and I grabbed the fire extinguisher and I said something like, "No problem, I am totally safe running Manjaro with my fire extinguisher." I think someone replied, "You do not need a fire extinguisher to run Manjaro." Anyway. Yeah, Randall, graphics drivers in Linux are going to be a hit and miss. If there was one standard feature of the Linux desktop, and that is unpredictability. So, yeah. Your brother-in-law is using Linux Mint. Cool, Rose, yeah. Well, Linux Mint just works. They release their versions of Linux Mint when it's ready, and not necessarily on a regular schedule. And that's why the quality is pretty good. Yeah, Ubuntu used to have a bit of telemetry with the, what's it called? Scopes, I think they were called. I can't remember. And but, of course, that's probably going to be changed with Ubuntu GNOME. Let's see, Rose. You have a Dell 745 dual core, 2 hard drives, and 4. Okay, yeah, 4 gig of RAM should be plenty for most Linux distributions. Fedora is better for sysadmin and practice enterprise. Yeah, I don't know if I can recommend Fedora for beginners. Have you ever used a menu called configurable menu? The developer is no longer supporting for Cinnamon. He's migrating to GNOME Shell. I have not, Colin. No, I have not. Yeah, Cinnamon is another version of Mint I just never quite got into. Aurora seems Manjaro alike. I don't think I've tried Aurora, so I do not know. There's been a lot of talk about OB Revenge, Mate, and KDE, and all that. I believe it's based off of Arch. I just don't mess with Arch-based distros. I like to keep it simple and stick with Ubuntu-based or Debian-based. So for those of you who are joining or watching this late, the original topic was how to avoid phishing scams by phone. Don't fall for traps. Don't be pressured. If it sounds too good to be true, hang up the phone is the best advice I can give you. And for those of you joining late, you can just play this video back on YouTube. Manjaro seems problematic after listening, Lenny. Matthew Moore videos crashing. Rose, I don't know. I tried it last year. Like I said, it started great, and then I just gave up. Shadow 7, what's up? The Fedora installer was really nice. It's just that you can't do much in Fedora after installation without RPM. That's the package installer, right? Colin, it's at the top of the Manjaro is at the top of DistroWatch. If that's the well, it's not newbie DistroWatch, right, Colin? So I guess it's okay. Yeah, Shatir, LXD is very light. Ubuntu, yes, MX16. I downloaded the latest MX16. I downloaded it last night or night before doing some tests. Yeah, it's pretty good, based off of Debian, right? Yeah, Mint Mate is excellent. I love the Mate, the Mint menu. It's so easy to use. even though it comes close to your name. Okay. My thoughts on Ubuntu. I will probably never use Ubuntu again, Ryan, because was it the last version of Ubuntu? They released it with a pretty big, major, humongous bug. It was a bug with the file manager, and all my files got deleted, gone, erased, Ryan. So I will probably never use Ubuntu again. I like the XFCE desktop environment, but as far as Ubuntu, they can kiss my kernels. I was very upset about that bug. They should not have been released. That's an example of being released when it was not ready. Now, luckily I had 90% of my files backed up, but that was a known flaw, and they botched it. So no more Ubuntu for me. More like the AUR for RPM. Okay. Oh, Linux Mint. Okay, sorry, Colin. Yeah, well, look, it's no surprise. Ubuntu switching to GNOME. Clearly, GNOME is not popular, not as popular. Look, 6 years ago, Linus Torvalds, the father of Linux, said GNOME is an unholy mess. That was him saying it, not me. So there you go. Yeah, Rose, LXLE is another easy-to-use distro for beginners. Maybe a little bit easier than MX16, maybe. I can't remember. Ubuntu is great. Ghost used it for a long while. It just wasn't great for me. Manjaro fan for a long time. Then installed Arch. It's been one of the most solid systems. Wow. Yeah, but Arch is always cutting edge software. I just don't put Arch and Solid in the same sentence. But hey, if you use what works. Yeah, I love Linux Mint, Colin. Yeah, I mean, I've been using it off and on. Years ago it was between that and Ubuntu Unity, but I love Linux Mint. It's just solid. Peppermint OS is okay. Yeah. Yep. Another light version. I believe some of the folks from Linux Mint switched over to Peppermint project. So yeah, it's fine. English Bob. Yeah, English Bob is back. He was off, he came back. He was using just Windows, Linux. I'm not sure what's going on. Installed Arch once, scarred for life. Oh my goodness. It was that bad, huh? Randall? Cutting edge doesn't always mean untested broken. True. It's true. Fidel, how are you, Fidel? Welcome to tonight's live cast. I'm having good luck tonight. I was not expecting these many people on unscheduled live event. This is cool. By the way, Fidel, I spoke to Stephanie yesterday. She's doing great. I know you like her music. She's busy doing her thing, working. She's coming back to the States, I believe, the end of the month. Her family's here in Boston, but she's doing her writing and working and music stuff, so she's doing good. She's keeping busy. But I don't expect any new tunes from her until probably next month. He ran Arch for a little bit, but opted to stop running it since getting a fresh install back to where it would have been a chore. Okay. Peppermint is better polished. Or is polished, I would say. Play with fire, try any rolling release. Bleeding, yeah. I think I tried OpenSUSE once, but not the rolling release version. What's it called? Tumbleweed, I think? I can't remember. There are 100 distros on DistroWatch, and maybe only a handful that are really, really solid, if I had to guess. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm checking the messages on my phone. I'll be right back. Okay, where are we here? Yeah, Fidel, she's doing okay. She does have a beautiful voice. It's stephanieforian.bandcamp.com. Check out her YouTube channel, her Patreon page. Great, great undiscovered talent. Beautiful voice. Super girl. Super lady. Leap. Solus. I think I took a look at Solus one time, Rose. I think it was okay. I can't remember. God, I've tested so many Linux distros over the years, I lost track. Have I heard of Replicant, a free software version of Android? I don't think so, Ryan. Yeah, at least not off the top of my head. Debian is solid. Debian stable. Shadow 7 is one of the most stable distros I've ever tested. It's not cutting edge. It just works. So Debian's fine. Yeah. Ben, you are building Linux from scratch. You have my sympathies. Just kidding, just kidding. Rose Linux, you would trash everything. Yeah, yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, but that's okay. It's still a fun experience to learn something, even if you break it, right? So to speak. I need to get something to drink. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Don McCullough, I finally caught you on a live, or you caught me on a live stream. What's up? Good to have you on board. I'm choking on my Pepsi here. Boy, dangerous stuff. Welcome, Don. How are you? Yeah, I think this is my first Saturday night live stream. I wasn't sure who'd be on, but hello. Give me a second here. Don, which OS are you using now? I'm here, Ryan. Just went to get something to drink in the fridge in the garage. Gen 2 over dial-up. Okie dokie. You learned so much, never made a ISO before. Installed the hard drive, installed the OS, installed CMOS battery. Cool. Yeah, Ben, I don't know what happened to Spatry. We started doing the can't think tonight. News and nonsense. But I'm not sure what happened. He stopped doing it for whatever reason. I still had requests to do news and nonsense. I've had my good friend Stephanie Forian, songwriter Stephanie Forian from Munich, originally Boston. She works in Munich. Join me just to have somebody else on the show. She's been a very good sport, and try to give her some customers to buy her music. So yeah, I miss Battery too. Yeah. Doing well, Don. I'm doing quite well. Thank you. Yeah, I hope he's okay, Ben. I don't know what's going on. So, yeah. I had fun doing the shows with him and the gang, but I just moved on. But yeah, I do the news and nonsense sporadically with Stephanie, so. That's Stephanie's website to check out and buy some of her songs. She is an independent singer-songwriter. She is an undiscovered talent, in my opinion. She's very good. She doesn't use Linux. She uses Mac, but that's okay. She's got a beautiful voice, great talent, great to chat with, and yeah, check her out. StephanieForian.bandcamp.com. You can buy either individual songs or maybe buy one of her CDs and tell her I sent you. She usually replies to everybody, and I mean everybody. So, yeah, Rose, Gen 2 is definitely for advanced users. Yeah. You updated the MCall, but that's it. Okay. Yeah, check out. I had Stephanie do a live event last month or month before. We just had a hangout, and she gave us a free concert of three songs from her apartment in Munich. The video quality was so and so because she has DSL, but the music you can hear her sing, and I wasn't expecting it, so she was a good sport. But yeah, Ben, just search my channel for Stephanie Forian live event, and anyway. Spatry is a ghost town. I assume the new channel website and the Mumble are as well. I don't know, Randall. I really don't know. I've missed doing the shows and chatting with him. I hope he's okay. I know he lives in Florida, or did live in Florida. and I don't know. So many good news and nonsense moments. So many funny headlines. One of my favorites was Fire Extinguisher Factory burns down in Chicago next to a fire station. It's one of my favorites. One of the news and nonsense I did with Stephanie, a story out of Florida. There was a lawyer defending his client in an arson case, and now he is presenting his case in the arson case, his pants catches fire. He was playing with one of those e-cigs, and his pants catches fire defending an arson case. Very, very bad luck. Anyway. Kali, Black Arch, Parrot OS are for security practice pen test purposes. Well, for security, I heard that Cube's OS may be one of the best. A fire truck on fire. Okay. That would not be a good sign to have a fire truck on fire, would it, Xenesis? Not at all. Ryan, as far as I know, no one has had contact with him. As far as I know. Just checking my messages on my phone again. I'm here. Randall, I believe Linux Help Guy is now English Bob, if I'm not mistaken. I just saw that Randall split personality. Oh my. Yeah, Fidel, The Wrath of the Penguin. It sounds like a movie. Star Wars 9, The Wrath of the Penguin. Alright, so tonight's topic was phone phishing, phishing scams. Has anybody else had any phishing adventures that they would like to share tonight, since that was the original topic? Yep, Linux can be a love and hate affair. Yep. Okay, Shatir, yeah. EB was Linux Help Guy. Then he was Windows Help Guy, or Puppy Linux, or many personalities there, yeah. Penguins from Madagascar, the new Disney movie. Okay, Rose, you have to tell us what was the phishing scam. Come on. If you want to tell us. Ah, yes, Revenue Canada. I liked it when English Bob went into his rants. Funny stuff. Yes, Ryan, on the next episode of The X-Files, there will be an episode of Spatry's disappearance. Okay, maybe not. He asked for $5,000. You owed $5,000. What a bargain. People trying to hack Windows. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Rose, you will greet them. Sure. Fidel, I don't know if I will upgrade. I think what I have now is fine. Yeah, if it works, it works. I just leave it. They didn't call Rose. I suppose so. I suppose they would not, rather, yeah. I just hang up on them. I just don't play the game anymore, yeah. Like I said, if I won the car or whatever, send me the car first, a clear title, then I'll pay the fee. I'll pay the tax on it, sure. It doesn't work that way, does it? Too bad the caller ID chip in the talking phones doesn't say phone call from phishing. Phone call from phishing. You was phone scam once to someone called me claiming to be a bull collector. Bill, I know, but just sounds funny. A BS collector for an account the last bill collector stopped collecting. You made me laugh, Randall, with your typo. He was a bull collector. Yeah, I'm sure he's a load of bull. Oh my. Shirts tell me he's okay. Spatchy lost most of his things. Oh, I did not know that. Okay, after the cyclone. Oh. Okay, Ben, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you on the next one. They called again, Rose. Oh my goodness, they are persistent. Colin, you had a couple of years ago, you had nonstop calls. I told them they are full of it and don't even use Windows, which I wasn't at the time, and they persisted. Use the imagination what I told them next. This is a family channel, Colin. Now be nice. You wrote, I'm telling them mail only. They sent a sloppily formatted letter demanding a money order for thousands of dollars. Yes, registered to the Bank of Nigeria. Yep, such is the life of a fisherman. Fisherman, yeah. I don't know what happened, Ryan Dispatcher. I mean, the situation. I really don't know. Yeah, I hope he's okay. I should have one of those bullhorns, like an air horn. So when a fisherman calls me, I just have that thing blaring in the earpiece, But I just hang up and do not go fishing, as it were. It's just a waste of time. I wonder what percentage of people get sucked into a phishing scam. I just had a thought. I don't know. The Windows key, Shadow, it's the top windows next to your garage. There's a little key that you insert to unlock the windows on top of your garage, right? uBlock Origin stops many phishing and Windows support scammers on the Googles. Okay. Rose, I like your style. Yeah, let me go. My virtual machine then hacked and deleted their files. Yeah, I guess that would be fun, but Fishman loves Linux. Sure, I remember him. I think Fishman joined us on the News and Nonsense once or twice, if I recall, with Spatry. Let's see, what do we have? It is almost midnight, so I think I might end this around the midnight hour. Thank you, all of you who stopped by to say hello. This was cool. One of these days I'm going to announce it like a week ahead of time, a live event, and maybe we'll have like 50 people on. And then I'll go nuts trying to respond to everybody. But that's okay. I don't know what Fishman uses. Escalado, hello! Have you guys checked out the books on Humble Bundle? I have not, Escalado. Hey, Colin. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yes, I'll be getting off soon. Yep, Escalado, there are many Linux books. You know what I have? What I've noticed? I check the web, just Google. I haven't seen any podcasts for Linux newbies or Linux beginners, unless I missed something. It's kind of strange. To be honest, watching Spatry YouTube, he seemed to be crazy, Rose. Yeah, in the beginning, in his intros, he would scream. He would say, "Right now on Spatries." He was a heavy caffeine drinker. He would just scream. But yeah, I guess that would come across as crazy. He used a lot of the F word, Rose. Folgers. Coffee. Okay, Shatir, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, there's a poll, I believe, on the OMG website for the next Ubuntu release. If you guys are interested, I think that's where I saw it, or what default apps. I think one of the default apps was the GNOME tweak tool. Why would you even have to ask that question to put the tweak tool by default in GNOME? It makes it worthless if it's not there. But that's just my opinion. Don't be trash talking the holy beverage. Well, I'm drinking the beverage Pepsi, Randall, and this beverage is quite nice. Your book for Linux is Linux YouTube videos. Sure. It is convenient, Rose. Very much so. Check is what Linux does and Win don't. Yep. That was one of his most popular videos. Yeah. I think he ditched Windows a long time ago, if not mistaken. But I should do a video. Win does what Linux don't. Number one, Windows, you keep your sanity. Like graphics drivers will always work. As far as I know. Yeah, I think he did do a sequel, Randall. A couple of them. I mean, he had some nice points, absolutely. Yeah. He actually had a lot of good tutorials since he was so into Linux. Anyway, I hope he's okay. So, yeah. Do that, please. Ryan, what do you want us to do? You're jumping to a lot of Linux YouTubers today. Well, that's okay, Rose. As long as you have a good time, nothing wrong with that. In Windows, you have to download a 1 gigabyte zip file. Wow. To use the Apple and Ethernet dongle. That's a hell of a zip file. Well, I only have an iPad mini as far as Apple goes, and that's it. The one that was over your head was sudo reboot chat today. Yeah, he's into... What is he into today? Arch? From scratch or something like that, Rose? Yeah. Nice fella. But I just don't do Arch. Yeah, he's into heavy customizations as far as I know. I just don't have the patience for that, so I like to keep it simple. So, yeah. Yeah, I think sudo reboot does it seems like 2 or 3 live chats or live streams each day. It seems that way, but he just But he just rambles along. But yeah, sudo reboot is cool. Sometimes I'll jump on Switch to Linux live stream and say hello. Another friendly fella. You're moving more to Linux Lite. I feel like I like the feel, but I'm running out of laptops and notebooks. Okay. Well, when I first started out, Rose, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, trying Linux, I had, it seems like thousands of bootable disks. I mean, it wasn't. But, anyway, yeah. Sudo, look up Sudo, right, on YouTube. He has many, many live streams. He did a nice tutorial once on the antivirus for Linux. I think it's called Sophos. Not really for beginners, but yeah. Asus Tinkerboards. Yeah, Rose, Linux 10 years ago was not generally not for beginners, I would have to say. Yeah. That started to change 2008, 2009 with Linux Mint. And it was really Linux Mint that kept me interested. Then I went to Zorn. But yeah, I started off with Ubuntu version 6 dot something, more out of curiosity, and then I moved on. Excuse me, but really in the end, all things considered, it was Linux Mint that kept me really interested on how easy the potential for Linux, for the Linux desktop, could be very easy. So yeah. And that's why Linux Mint is still around today. There's a bi-weekly Linux Mint podcast called Mintcast. I think they record it live every couple weeks. Not really designed for newbies, but somewhat informative. And then weekly there's the Ubuntu podcast. Sometimes I'll listen to that, but that's as far as I go. So is anybody interested in buying the Apple home virtual assistant called the HomePod? I cannot switch fully to Linux, Ryan, because the Linux desktop is unpredictable, as in graphics drivers and stuff like that. That's why, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, Linux, the very select few Linux distros work, but there's always something that keeps me from switching, right? But that's why. So yeah. Let's see, Rose, you had a laptop, and Microsoft updated it to Windows 10 and screwed it, then I was angry. What happened, Rose? Yeah, I've upgraded 3 of my machines to Windows 4, 3.4. I haven't had any issues, so what exactly happened, Rose? Or maybe I just got lucky, I don't know, but I didn't have any major problems. It's fully predictable if you never get new hardware. Well, I don't know what to say, Shadow, but yeah, that's why I dual boot. Although I use probably 60% Linux, maybe more, 40% in Windows, but that's why I chose to dual boot. No Apple products for me, expensive and forced upgrades. Well, Rose, as far as Apple products, I was actually talking to Stephanie last night, and she's had Windows and Apple products. Now, keep in mind, she is a singer-songwriter. She uses specific software, to write her music. Editing, I don't quite understand all of it, but she says in Windows, she was always trying to figure out problems. No issues, or very, very few issues with the Apple products. And, so she spent a lot less time and frustration with Apple. That's why she chose to go with Apple. And I've noticed a lot of professional YouTubers, and what I mean by professional, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, millions of subscribers, they don't use Windows, they use Apple. And it's got to be for a reason. I've thought about buying an iMac, an Apple product. I don't have that kind of revenue, with my channel. But if I did have that kind of revenue, sure, I would go out as a consumer, buy an Apple product just to test it, and see what the fuss is all about, and then report back to you guys. But there's a reason why a lot of tubers use Apple. Now, can they all be nuts or wrong? Probably not. That's my thought on Apple. They last a long time, and they seem to hold their value, or the value doesn't drop as much as, say, a Windows machine over the years. And it is a quality product. The price is a little high, totally agree. But they work. So, and they got one of the best, as far as video editing software, Apple is one of the best. So, yeah. For 3 days, the laptop trashed my drivers. Oh, no. Yeah, I haven't had those issues, Rose. Sorry to hear that, but yeah. The Ethernet dongle works out of the box on Linux. Cool. Nice. Rose is a normal individual. That's right, Rose. Apple users are not normal. I'm just kidding. And friends who are Apple, my husband had 9,500 one time. Okay. Apple for content creation plus updates. Don't break your box. Okay. All right. They are production machines, isn't it? Well, look, they have... I guess they have better quality control. I guess is one way to look at Apple products. The only Apple product I have now is an iPad mini. I bought refurbed a couple years ago. I don't use it that much, but I've had no issues. But if I could get an Apple machine, I think I would. I don't. The one advantage of doing live streams is I don't do any kind of editing. The gateway I have now, I bought refurbished, really good price, super reliable with Windows 10, but it takes like 20 minutes to render a 10-minute video, and I don't have that kind of patience anymore. So anyway, that's why I do less editing nowadays. But if I had a nice Apple machine, sure, I would probably use it for those features. Yeah. Your brother gave mom an iPhone. She hates it. Doesn't know how to use it. Really? Click wheel iPod once, but yeah, I remember those. Yeah. iPhones, every upgrade makes it slower until you feel like you need a new phone. Really? Okay. Well, the one nice and bad thing about Android phones, I love my HTC One Max, the best speakers on the market, but I'm stuck on Android 4. It hasn't made my phone slower, but yeah, it's kind of disappointing, HTC. So my next phone will probably not be an HTC, but I kept it because a lot of phones today, the speakers are not very good. Rose is a normie, yay! I'll have to, I was talking about news and nonsense. I was talking to Stephanie last night. It was kind of late, so we didn't do a news and nonsense, but I had the recorder running. And towards the end, I guess my voice was breaking up, and it really sounded like a robot. I might edit that and maybe post it, but it was really funny. Like the last 2 minutes of the conversation. So, anyway. But for the most part, we had talked about Windows 10. I haven't had that many problems. I don't like the forced updates, but I will say this. It was the forced updates that prevented, I believe, Windows 10 from getting trashed with ransomware. So the updates has its places, especially the security updates. Yeah. All YouTube videos for iPhone are setting pins and passwords, installing apps, everything except using the phone as a phone. Okay. Send the phone back, Shadow? Oh my. Apple and Microsoft products are planned obsolescence. I don't know about the Windows computers, Rose. I mean, they're upgradable. You're really not locked out as you are with an Apple machine, if that's what you mean. So Apple maybe because it's, you're locked out more or less, but Windows, Microsoft, Windows machines, not so much probably. In the past I've added RAM, stuff like that. I'm going to finish my Pepsi here soon and call it a night, so I'll hang around a little bit more, a little bit longer. Thanks everyone for stopping by tonight. This was fun, as always. My first MP3 player was a 64 megabyte Samsung YEPP from the year 2000. I thought that was so cool. Could hold a CD and a half. I didn't have to carry a CD player. Yep, the beginnings of the future. I even have a Sony mini disc that I think still works. I'll have to show that next time. Yes, Rose, Windows 7 was good and stable. Yeah, easy to use, simple. They kind of botched it with Windows 8. Windows 10 much better. Yeah, Windows 7 for Microsoft was a shining star. Yeah, much, much better than Vista. Vista was a nightmare. So, yeah. I think Windows 7 is still being supported. I forget until when, but yeah. Well, the problem with XP was keeping it secure. I mean, it was easy to use, but yeah. I think the ransomware thing that hit, I think it was mainly machines that were not patched like Windows XP. In fact, it was so bad, Microsoft issued security updates for Windows XP. That's how bad it was. Windows 10 for NSA entering. Oh, I know, Rose. But hey, it works for me, and I can play my games on it. Yeah. Let's see, Randall. You can buy a $20 Android phone from Family Dollar, $30 micro SD card from Walgreens, and instant MP3 player. I think I lost the signal there for a second. Can you guys see me? I think we're okay now. I don't know. Lost the signal there. Okay, yeah. Yeah, streaming problems, but just a couple more minutes, guys. Yeah, a couple more minutes and we'll wrap it up. So, took Java 5 years to release 64-bit browser. Ooh. That is a very long time. Yeah. Yeah, I had to restart the streaming. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who stopped by. It was a lot of fun. And for those of people who missed it, they can just catch this later on YouTube. I gave some tips on how to avoid phishing and all that stuff. So, but this was a lot of fun. So I think I will sign off. Thank you once again. And I'll catch you guys on the next live stream. I don't know when. I do these at random times just to see if I can catch, as many people in different time zones. So, yeah. So, it is, what time is it? Almost 12:30. Ooh, okay. So, let's see. What do I have to do tomorrow? Anything on my computer? I think I might upload that MX16 video, or take a look at MX16, do a video on that one. Finish cutting my grass and avoid going fishing, as it were. So, thank you. Have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one. Be safe.